I still remember the moment as if it just happened. I was standing by the office coffee machine, adding my usual dash of oat milk to my morning latte, when Mark, the CEO, breezed into the break room. He didn't greet me. He didn't smile. He just looked at me like I was part of the wallpaper. I took a sip and turned to leave when he cleared his throat. "Team," he said loudly. "Thank you all for your hard work. And a special shout out to our legal and finance departments for making that $30 million Ionix deal happen." A few polite claps followed. My heart seized. The Ionix deal. My deal. 8 months of late nights, weekends away from my daughters. Recital, countless calls with Ionix's CFO, reduced to a soundbite and credited to Mark. My fingers shook around the cup. I blinked. "Excuse me?" I said, stepping forward. "Mark, I think you mean the Ionix deal that Sarah Thompson spearheaded." He turned, expression flat. "Right," he replied casually. "Sarah helped, but I want to thank leadership for driving this home." He raised his hand, ending it. I stood frozen as he walked away. Some heads turned, most went back to their pastries. The humiliation settled over me like ice. I finished my latte in silence, my mind racing through every late-night email and every flight to Dubai. That evening, I drove home on autopilot. The city lights blurred as I replayed every negotiation. When I got to my apartment, I stared at my reflection. I'd always prided myself on being measured, professional. Now I felt raw and exposed. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking of Section 8.3 of the Ionix contract. Any public recognition regarding the Ionix partnership must list Sarah Thompson as primary negotiator. A clause I insisted on after a previous near miss. Never did I imagine it would be my lifeline. By 7 a.m., I was at my laptop. At 8:45, I saw an email. Meeting request, Mark Johnson, CEO, 10 a.m., executive conference room. My chest tightened. I clicked, accept, hands trembling. At 9:30, my phone buzzed. It was my father, the founder who hired me 5 years ago after one interview. "Dad," I answered. "Sarah," he said, voice gentle but firm. "Are you okay?" I got a weird message. He'd seen the draft press release. Congratulations to Mark Johnson for his leadership in securing Ionix. I felt bile rise. He walked into the break room, I said, voice quivering, and thanked leadership as if I didn't exist. He was silent. Then, "That's unacceptable. I built this company on transparency. Come in now. Bring everything. Emails, call logs, travel receipts. I'll sit in on your meeting." I closed my laptop, stunned. 20 minutes later, I let myself in through the executive entrance. It was 9:50 a.m., and the hallways were nearly empty. I carried a slim folder full of evidence. The final signed contract, a printed copy of Section 8.3, emails addressed to Ionix's CFO, flight itineraries, everything lined up like proof in a trial. My father paced near the mahogany table when I entered. He nodded. "Show me the press packet." I sat and opened my laptop to the draft release. "We are thrilled. $30 million contract. Congratulate Mark Johnson." His ego dripped off the screen. I handed my folder to my father. He flipped through it, eyes tight. "He saw you as a cog," he said quietly. "He doesn't think you deserve this credit." I swallowed. "He faces the board in an hour. If this goes out, I'll be erased in front of them and everyone watching online." He tapped his phone. "Cancel this press release, emergency board meeting, then you present. He'll have to explain himself." He swiped to send. "Run to the conference room. I'll be there before 10 new." I sprinted down the hall. The glass doors read Executive Conference Room. I entered at 9:57 a.m. Mark was at the head of the table, reviewing notes. A handful of executives sat around him, some joined via video. He looked up, startled. "Sarah, what?" I didn't answer. I sat opposite him, laid my folder on the table, and met his gaze. The projector's hum was the only sound. "You're early," he said. "I wanted to clarify something before the board meets," I replied. "I'm sure you saw my father's message." He rubbed his chin. "Yes, But let's be real. I'm grateful for your work. However, the board agreed it's more strategic for me to front this publicly. It sets a tone. I cut him off. Leadership isn't fronting, it's doing the work. 8 months ago, I flew to Dubai, met Mr. Al-Rashid 3 times, drafted that 120-page term sheet, negotiated delivery timelines and quality benchmarks. You have every email chain. Section 8.3 makes me the authorized negotiator. You signed it. Explain why you tried to erase me. His face tightened. The CFO cleared his throat. Perhaps we can handle this offline? I fixed my gaze. No, I want it on record. If you claim public credit, you must explain this. A board member on video leaned forward. Mark, would you like to comment? Before Mark could answer, the door opened. My father walked in. The room went silent. He nodded to me, then to the board. Good morning. We have an urgent matter. I have here every document showing Sarah Thompson's role. Please turn to page 4 of the contract, where it's spelled out explicitly. Executives flipped pages. My father continued, voice firm. I'm disappointed Mark tried to bypass this clause. Why? Mark's jaw clenched. He swallowed. I didn't bypass it. I thought it would be better, for the company, to have a face representing leadership. My father closed the contract. Better for the company or for your image? Mark's eyes dropped. Dad, He held up a hand. No excuses. We built this on honoring contributions. Sarah, walk us through your role. I exhaled, opened the folder again. I started conversations with Ionix's CFO in August. I met him in Dubai in September. In October, I drafted the MOU, negotiated delivery timelines, risk allocations, quality benchmarks. We finalized the $30 million deal last week. These printed emails. I slid a page showing my exchange with Ionix's legal counsel. Justify my lead. I arranged the Arabic translation for the Middle East team, too. A beat of silence. Then the CFO nodded. This is incontrovertible. My father looked at Mark. Anything else to add? Mark's face turned pale. He scanned the room as if hoping someone would save him. None did. After a long pause, he nodded to my father. I didn't think it mattered that much. My father shook his head. It matters. Integrity matters. Mark, as CEO, you represent the company, but you do not erase those who do the work. That's theft. Mark's mouth opened, closed. He said nothing. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst, a rush of relief and shock. Facing him across that table, I felt an unexpected calm. My father sighed. We will correct the press release. A new announcement will credit Sarah as the Ionix lead. As for your future, the board will decide after this. He closed the folder, nodded at me. Sarah, thank you for bringing this forward. I stood, pressing my hands flat on the table. Thank you for believing me, Dad. My voice was steady, though inside I trembled. The room's tension dissolved into scattered murmurs as people processed what happened. I collected my folder and headed for the door. Mark cleared his throat. Sarah, he said softly, can I speak with you? I paused in the hallway, turned. He looked smaller now, shoulders slumped, eyes hollow. What is it? He swallowed. I'm sorry. I was under pressure from the board. I wanted a big win. I thought if I fronted this, it would secure my position. But I was wrong. You deserve the credit. I studied his face. I felt a flicker of pity, but also steel. An apology is something, but it can't erase months of erasure. You need to fix this in writing. Acknowledge my role in every internal memo. The team needs to see that I'm the Ionix negotiator, not you. He nodded. I'll do it. Anything you need. I nodded and walked away without looking back. 2 days later, I woke to a barrage of messages, congratulations, supportive notes, a flood of LinkedIn requests. The official press release read, "Congratulations to Sarah Thompson, our VP of Global Partnerships, for leading the 30mm Ionix deal. Mark Johnson remains CEO, but credits Sarah's indispensable leadership." I exhaled, the tension draining. Out. But deep down, I knew Mark wouldn't rest. A few hours later, I got an email. Internal Audit Committee findings. Mark had instructed his assistant to delete key email threads and ask IT to remove archived voice recordings. The audit flagged these as unauthorized tampering, breaches of policy. My stomach dropped. This was bigger than stolen credit. It was evidence tampering. If it looked like I cheered his downfall, I'd lose moral high ground. I forwarded the memo to my father, trusting him to act. Within hours, the board convened. Again. The news spread. Mark Johnson was suspended pending investigation for unethical conduct. Walking into the office that afternoon felt surreal. The hallways felt quieter, tense. I passed his empty office, nameplate still on the door. I breathed and focused on work, finalizing Ionix implementation, briefing my team, drafting strategy to ensure the deal's success. That evening, my father called. I've read the audit. Mark's actions could have cost us Ionix and exposed us to legal liability. The board wants to know if you'd consider an interim leadership role for global partnerships. I leaned against the kitchen counter at home. Dad, I appreciate it. But my life isn't just work. I have a daughter, a home. I can't become CEO. He sighed. No one's asking you to be CEO. They need someone to reassure Ionix and our board we're stable. Maybe a promotion is in order. I stared at my coffee cup, cold, forgotten. I'll think about it. But only if this kind of thing can't happen again. We need transparent policies, an anonymous reporting channel. He paused, then said, I agree. We'll draft revisions to our governance guidelines tonight. You deserve credit and protection. I exhaled and said, okay, let's do that. The next morning, I arrived early. The office was eerily empty. By 8 a.m., my inbox was flooded. Congratulations. Thank you for your leadership. Glad you stood up. But one email made my heart pound, from HR titled, Notice of Investigation. I opened it. Due to allegations of unauthorized data access and tampering, you are required to appear before the audit committee tomorrow at 9 a.m. to answer questions regarding potential collusion with external parties. Bring any evidence for your defense. My pulse spiked. Collusion? I stared at the words as if they were flames. Someone was turning it on me. I replied, I will attend. I have all my records. Then I dialed my father. He's pulling strings, I said when he answered. They're investigating me for collusion. There was a long silence. I knew he wouldn't go quietly, he said. Tomorrow at 9 I'll be there. And so will David, our head of compliance. We'll clear you. I pinched my eyes shut. Thank you. I just don't want this to spiral. Get some rest, he said. We'll handle it. I grabbed my notes, call logs, email prints, and jotted a timeline. First call with Ionix, Dubai trip, legal drafts, final signature, Mark's announcement, audit findings, his suspension. By midnight, I had a 2-page document with evidence sources and locations. At 8:50 a.m. the next day, I parked in the guest lot and walked to the executive entrance. My father waited, clipboard in hand. He nodded. We'll show them the truth. We entered the audit committee's temporary office. A storage room turned into a meeting space. File cabinets lined the walls. A whiteboard was covered with sticky notes tracing digital footprints. David, head of compliance, sat at the head of the table, flanked by 2 auditors. I sat to his right, my father to my left. I set my binder in front of me. David tapped a file on the screen. Ms. Thompson, thank you for being here. We need to clarify allegations of collusion. First, logs show large data downloads under your site, account days before the Ionix announcement. Can you explain? I took a breath. I needed to consolidate email threads and contract drafts to defend my authorship. I downloaded them because I couldn't trust them to stay intact after Mark's attempts to delete them. David pulled up logs. These downloads overlap with times when Mark's assistant made changes to the same files. We have screenshots showing your login times coincide with unauthorized deletions. Did you authorize that? I shook my head. No. I was on a client call with Ionix's CFO then. I have timestamps and screenshots. The file deletions happened. At 2:45 p.m., I was on video with the CFO until 3 p.m. They can confirm I wasn't at my desk. David's eyes flicked to my father. We'll verify. Next, evidence that voice recordings of your negotiations were overwritten. He clicked play. Distorted audio of Mark's muffled voice played. Can you explain? My jaw clenched. Those were on my personal recorder, not the server. Server files were backups. Mark instructed IT to overwrite the backups to cover up his credit theft. I reported that to my father immediately. I opened the binder to an email. Dad, they're tampering with files. David nodded. Finally, KB logins from Mark's assistant accessed your account and sent false emails to overseas partners. Were you involved? I shook my head. Voice firm. No, I send emails from Outlook with my signature. These forged emails have header mismatches, missing PGP signatures. They were fabricated to discredit me. A pregnant pause. Then David looked at my father and me. Thank you, Ms. Thompson. We'll review this evidence and present findings directly to the board. It appears the allegations against you were orchestrated to protect Mark. If confirmed, he will face termination for serious misconduct. Pray. Father stood. Thank you, that's all. I gathered my binder, heart pounding. We walked out together. For the first time in 48 hours, I felt calm resolve. 2 days later, the board convened again. The outcome was public. Mark Johnson was relieved of his duties as CEO, effective immediately for breaches of ethical conduct. The announcement was terse. Our board remains committed to transparency and integrity. We welcome Sarah Thompson as interim head of global partnerships. I sat in my office, staring at the announcement on my screen. I expected triumphant, relief, revenge achieved. Instead, I felt a steady exhale, like a storm passing. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and remembered that morning at the coffee machine. The humiliation, the anger, the fear I'd lose everything. Now it felt distant. That afternoon, my father called. Sarah, have you seen the notifications? Yes, I said softly. It's official. I want to offer you the permanent role as Chief of Global Partnerships, he said. The board believes you deserve it. I ran a hand through my hair. Dad, I don't seek titles for their own sake. I want accountability. A culture where no one can do what Mark did to me. He sighed. You'll have that. We're rewriting governance guidelines, instituting an anonymous reporting system, enforcing audit controls. We want you to lead that change. I felt tightness in my throat. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for standing up, he said. You saved us. You saved this company's integrity. That evening, I walked to my car through a quiet parking lot. City lights shimmered on the building's windows. I thought about the upcoming months. Rebuilding trust with Ionix, restructuring the department, mentoring young employees who watched in silence. I thought of my daughter and how I missed her recital negotiating that deal. This time, I promised myself I would show up. The next morning, I arrived early. My office was a cubicle in a corner of the executive floor, far from grand, but it was mine. I opened my laptop and typed an email to the entire staff. Dear team, today marks a new chapter. We've faced challenges, but our values remain intact. Moving forward, I am committed to transparency, accountability, and respect for every contribution. I welcome your feedback on creating a workplace where every voice is heard. Together, we'll prove integrity drives success. I hit send and leaned back watching the cursor spin. Within minutes, messages poured in. Thank you for leading with integrity. Glad you're our voice. I'm here to help. A warmth spread through me. This was why I stayed, why I fought. As the week unfolded, I implemented changes. I met with legal and IT to finalize the anonymous reporting system. I worked with HR to revise evaluation metrics so team achievements would be recognized. I held a town hall via video call with Ionix's CFO, assuring him our partnership was secure under my leadership. He smiled when I greeted him in Arabic, after months of closing every call that way. I'm glad to see your face leading this, he said. Later that afternoon, I stood by the coffee machine again, this time with a mug that read World's Best Negotiator. The hallways felt lighter. People stopped by my cube to share ideas or just say good morning. I caught Nicole from marketing at the end of the hall. She waved and mouthed, "Thank you." I nodded. As I sipped my latte, I thought of every moment. The first pitch to Ionix's board, the tremor in my voice when Mark made his announcement, the adrenaline when I confronted him, the exhaustion preparing for the audit committee. It all led here, not to a trophy or revenge, but to a chance to reshape culture. That evening, as I closed my laptop and gathered my bag, I paused in the lobby. The security guard, who rarely made eye contact before, smiled and said, "Good night." "Ms. Thompson, well done today." I returned the smile. "Good night," I said, and walked to the car. The streetlights cast long shadows. I thought of my daughter waiting at home. I thought of the script I'd almost let others rewrite. I doubted if my fight was worth it. But I knew it was. Competence isn't arrogance. Defending your worth isn't greed. It's survival. I glanced back at the building's glass facade. In its reflection, I saw myself standing tall, no longer invisible, no longer erased. I climbed in and drove away as the city's glow faded. I had exposed the truth, watched it burn away lies, and now I was free to build something real from the ashes.